Welcome to the EarthWorks podcast, where our team will share the jargon of carbon from many of our turf friends from the past 30 years.
Hello and welcome to the EarthWorks podcast. I'm sitting down here with a good friend, a guest you're all familiar with. We've had him on before for some of the best listened to podcasts in the EarthWorks podcast catalog. Our friend Jerad Minnick of the
best. It's a high standard.
Yeah, some of the best, dude. Yeah, and you know all these podcasts are getting hundreds and hundreds of listens a week. So
it's great.
Yeah.
Well, one of those people is me.
All right, excellent, man. Well,
so I don't know if you want to subtract my listen or not.
No, you count. You count big time. So we're here for the podcast. We've got a lot to talk about today. Kind of a mid-season, view into what's going on at the SoccerPlex and some of the interesting stuff you have here. So we're going to kind of get into some agronomy talk, but also talk labor and some of the interesting ways that you've been challenged that way, and kind of let the conversation flow. But here we are, kind of the longest days of the year, where we're just at the solstice, and you've already had a very full season out here.
No, it's not full. It's only half done.
Gosh.
Come on now.
Well, you've packed it in these first 8 weeks, 12 weeks of the year?
We're to week 13 in play. Yeah. So it's been exciting. Let's call it that. It's been intense. But hey, we're in the event business. So if we were out here not having events, then what's the point, right? So, or at least I feel that way. I know there's some field managers that would disagree with that, but
well, we all are. The part of the conversation is to talk about how much can the fields take, and that's kind of an expertise of yours. That's something that you've taken on in the last decade.
We're still searching for it to this day, Jack. It's a great point, because I mean, obviously, grass can take more. The most common question I get is how much more, and the most common response I give is I don't know, because when you put the pieces together to get the agronomy correct, you have to get. We work off for Natural Grass Advisory Group Education. We work off a puzzle that there's 5 key pieces to that puzzle. You have to have every single one of those pieces right, whether it's your cultivation or your soil test to get your soil balanced. If you're not growing the best grass that you can grow, especially with these improved varieties of grass, you're not going to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much. One of the pieces of the puzzle is not Mother Nature, and probably should be. We've discussed that. Because that's been the hardest thing this year with 13 weeks of 13. We're now 13 weeks in. 12 of those weeks were soccer. We've had, on every single one of our 22 fields, we've had at least 150 or somewhere around 150 soccer matches a field, over that 12-week period. This past weekend, we just started what we call our lacrosse season.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we're the Maryland SoccerPlex right now for the next 4 weeks after this. We had 18 lacrosse matches on each field the last 3 days over the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the most we've ever had on our cool season fields. We never had over 15 on our cool season fields before. We went ahead and had good success last year, so we added some more. So grass can take more. How much more? I mean, we came through, knock on wood, we look better now than we looked after 15 last year. So I think we're getting stronger.
There you go. Well, let's talk about the start of the season, the
Sure.
soccer that you had. What was the event?
Well, we had 8 weeks of what we call what we have as our regular league play, which is what this facility was founded on in 1999, is serving the local community in the soccer clubs. There were 11 or 12 local soccer clubs that went together that were part of the original group here at SoccerPlex to play their matches here. They're all in long-term contracts. We play. Each club has allocated a certain number of matches, so that's changed. Clubs have changed over the 20 years that we've been in business, 22 years now, I guess. So, but we'll have each field is in play every single weekend for league play. we may not fill all the space, but we fill most of the space. We host all rounds of the State Cup playoffs for Maryland Youth Soccer, the Maryland Youth Soccer Association. So we have all of that as well, and then we have MLS Next, which is the professional or the youth academy of the professional league of MLS. We have a lot of MLS Next matches as well. So we fill up those 8 weeks pretty darn full, and then the other 4 weeks have been tournaments. 2 of those were major tournaments. One was a 5-day MLS Next event that was the top 256 youth teams in North America. The other was that thunder's nice. It's a nice little background noise for everybody on the podcast.
Yeah, that's right. We are catching a nice boomer here. A good.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that. By the way, we needed that.
A summer boomer in the Mid-Atlantic.
Yeah. So then Memorial Day tournament was a 4-day event that was all U16 and above. The MLS event was all U15 and above. So the intensity of play isn't just, it's not just a lot of matches, it's a lot of older kids and high-level players.
Yeah, some of the best players in the country.
Brilliant soccer.
That's soccer. Great.
Yeah, it's fun. We've got several people on our staff that are soccer players or soccer coaches, and it's where did they go? It's like, well, let's look at the schedule and see which is the best match going on.
Wow.
Right now.
Oh yeah, let's check out some good soccer.
It's amazing soccer.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So and it's good for the community too. You're hosting national level events out here, bringing a lot of people from all over the country into
all over North America. Yeah. The MLS Next event. The Lieutenant Governor was here, and Maryland Sports Commission was involved with that as well. I think what I heard, we had that was a $5 million economic impact on the state of Maryland for that one event.
Wow!
And that event was probably half the size of the lacrosse event we just had last weekend.
So again, grass can take more. Do you think that an artificial complex of 30 artificial fields would get an event like that, that would for the whole continent, and draw in that sort of, because they're out there and they don't do this.
Well, that level of player won't play on synthetic turf.
Exactly.
We do have 3 synthetic fields, and they'll play. We have less matches on our synthetic. It's frustrating because we have $1 million field that we want to use, or fields, and we get more requests to not play on them. But high-level soccer doesn't want to be on them. That's just reality. And I understand. I mean, it's hard, and cleats catch, and they want to play on a good grass field. And if we can provide that for them, then I don't mind them requesting them to be on those.
Well, let's talk about what you have out here, because you mentioned the 3 artificial fields. That'll be we don't need to talk much more about them, but you do have everything else out here too. You've got cool season turf. You've got Bermuda and all different types of Bermuda.
All different types. Yeah.
You've got projects in the works, and so let's kind of talk about how that gets scheduled and how that gets maintained, because you've got 2 different types of growing plants out here.
It's amazing how one grass is happy, one grass is not happy. But in the spring, it's one day one grass is happy. The next day, that I think I referenced to you that this past weekend, Friday we had 97, so we had a record high. Sunday morning we had 47, we had a record low.
Oh my gosh!
So one day Bermuda was happy as can be. The next day,
stunted.
It's like, what's going on here? And the cool season is so we have right now we have 7 full Bermuda grass fields. We have sprigged into 2 more. So we have 2 more that are Bermuda that are essentially overseeded with cool season still. And then we just did a renovation on our stadium 18 days ago that we cut out cool season and we sprigged Bermuda grass. So we're reducing our number of cool season fields. Not that we're unhappy with our cool season fields, but our Bermuda grass, especially these newer varieties, allow us to have more use and spend less money because we're able to have But I referenced a high level of play. A high level player now, or a high level team, an MLS Next team will request dormant Bermuda over even a green ryegrass field.
Wow.
Because it plays so well. The footing is brilliant.
So let's talk more Bermuda. I mean, you said you kind of went over it fast. You've got this stadium field that you're growing in, and now we know why the temperature swings are
important.
Pretty important. You saw that last weekend. You're trying to grow in Bermuda grass. You got sprigs out there. You got a 97-degree day. You're doing backflips.
We were just living it. Yeah. And then the next day we were like, okay, this isn't. Yeah, because we only have a 28-day grow-in.
Wow.
Granted, that's...
You challenge yourself over here.
Yeah, the 35-day from seed grow-in we did 10 years ago wasn't enough fun, so we decided to do it.
Shorten that window.
Yeah, shorten that window. But, I mean, Bermuda grows, and I've caught some flack from a few people that or there's been a few doubters that have come out, but they obviously, especially on social media, they obviously don't know who I am. They don't know what we do here. That we challenge the status quo, and that's what our board of directors has. When I was here before, and as when I was here helping as a consultant, and now I'm back here again. That's what the board of directors wants for us. We are a nonprofit. We don't just go out and spend money willy nilly. To sod the stadium would have been easier, but it would have cost 3 times as more. The product wouldn't have been as good because we have a fiber sand field, so we have polypropylene fibers in our sand. A sod layer over the top of that's not going to be conducive.
No, yeah, it voids your propylene.
So it's like we did what's best for the field. We did what's best for our budget. Is it challenging to grow it in? Yeah. Are we going to be successful? We may not be 110% perfect, but what's Bermuda grass do in the summer? Even today, when it was 83, it's still growing.
Oh yeah, it's certainly growing. We walked it. There's an enormous, you couldn't come across a square inch that didn't have green tissue in it.
And we did sprig at 2,000 bushels an acre, which is
that's heavy.
A lot of sprigs. I mean, that's essentially it's over a 2.5x rate.
Okay.
But if we're going to fill in fields, then that's a 2.5 time X rate compared to traditional thinking. Many jobs that we've done from an advisory standpoint, or fields we've sprigged here at SoccerPlex before, we've done that because we've never had, or we typically don't have more than 5 weeks for any. That's why we had grew in the stadium in 35 days from seed, because we had to use the field, and that was in 2010. That was 2012. We're a nonprofit. We need to use our fields.
It's what you have to do. And there's expectations of the whole soccer community around the country to come out to this, because you have 30 fields total?
There's 24 in the park. We maintain 22.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'd like to fit 6 more. Yeah.
There you
I
go.
Like heads that would be very helpful. That would be very helpful.
So let's see. Your first event in the stadium is when?
July 3rd.
July 3rd. Okay.
So that's 29 days from the day we sprigged.
Now, so you're looking at a little over 2 weeks here.
Yep.
And what are you gonna do for between now and then? You had some thoughts.
Well, because it's been cool, I can either complain about it being cool and use that as an excuse, or we can put the covers on and we can put the lights that we have over the top of the covers, and we can generate some heat and some growth. That's what we're going to do. We're not going to complain about it. We're going to get it done.
You already have the pre-plant in the ground. Everything it needs is there.
Yeah, we were able to, once we stripped the field off and then it got laser graded, we were able to worked in profile down the middle of the field, the center 30,000 feet. We worked in Ecolite. We worked in Renovate Plus. We worked in 333.
Yeah.
So we put the base in. Once the grass was down and it got rolled and watered, we came back with more profile on top, with more Renovate Plus on top. Center 30,000 feet. I mean, I'm talking about all these matches. Our fields don't wear. None of these fields wear except in the center of 30,000 feet, where the mass of the use is.
Mm-hmm.
75% of the use is on 30% of the field. So we treat that area differently. Even in our pre-plants, even in our, in what we've done to reduce our compaction potential.
Everything you do in your agronomic program is about isolating down to those wear areas of the field. Yeah.
Completely different. Yep. They get that 30,000 feet gets maintained completely differently than the other 60,000. And it's not even close to being similar. They are different fields.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you don't see, because of the way that the play is, it's not like you're seeing a green strip down the middle of the field. You've dialed it in so that you know how much to push the centers and to pull back on the outside so that you see a uniform field.
Yeah, we'll get it once in a while. I think I told you we just made a 5.45 application at a quarter pound on our cool season fields down the middle. The next couple of days, it's going to start to be greener, but we're about to make an iron and C3 application on the entire
across the field.
So
sure.
it'll even it up pretty quick.
Sure.
So, and I always say this, that if somebody's going to complain about the middle of the field being green and in better condition, complain.
Yeah.
And I always joke that if somebody listening has someone complaining about the middle of their field being better than the outside, call me and I'll bring in a case of beer and we're going to hang out.
There you go.
Because you go up on it, you've looked down when you fly out of an airport anywhere. There's not a single damn field anywhere in this country that's not professional level that doesn't have wear down the middle.
That's exactly right.
So they look different already. So if the middle of the field looks different because it looks better, okay.
I mean, you measure the wear by how much effort you put into cleaning debris out of these areas, right? I mean, I saw your crew out there today, sweepers, buffalo blower. I mean, there's so much vertical cutting that happens just from the kids running around.
Yeah, when you put 18 lacrosse matches, it's right up and down the middle. I mean, it's just, you don't have to vertical cut the middle.
There you go.
Because they keep it cleaned out.
And it's not kids, like we're saying, it's full-size athletes.
Yeah, this past weekend were all rising sophomores and higher because it was a recruiting tournament. We had several hundred college coaches here.
Mm-hmm.
It just amazes me that I always feel like it's a missed opportunity for the entire industry because we have all these college coaches in one place. They ask about the fields. They're curious. They're into it because they have fields that aren't necessarily probably as good as some of these.
Yeah.
And talk about a great place to market, but yet we can't get, and this is not a shot at you because obviously we get along well, but we can't get commercial companies to stop arguing with each other, stabbing each other in the back to agree that, hey, you know what, let's agree on this and work together because synthetic turf is kicking our asses.
Wow.
And we need to be happy about good quality grass fields.
Yeah, and I'm hosting the event that brings everyone out.
Everyone in the same place. Like you don't have to pay for the marketing because they're all here. But it's cool. It's cool because they're so into it. Like the coaches are into it. The players are into it. Doesn't matter if it's boys or girls, men or women. It's just, I mean, it's incredible how into it the athletes are to know why are these surfaces different than the surfaces we play on. Any
athlete outside of the mechanics of their sport, the very next thing that they're into is the facility. Any athlete, right? Yep. Like that. Any athlete, that's what they want to be about it. Whether it's a swimmer in a pool and how cool the pool is, or it's a soccer or lacrosse player on a natural turf.
And we'll talk about that because we're gonna talk about staffing, and I'm not gonna jump forward to that. But the apprentices that we have in our apprenticeship program are all either players, coaches, or from sports medicine, and they are into it. But even to what you referenced before, like today when we were working on this week after the lacrosse, we springtined everything to pull some of that debris out. We did some brushing as well, just to bring more debris out below. I was complaining. I was obviously complaining to you earlier about the amount of gas we burned through our buffalo blower. I was watching a clip of a NASCAR race the other day, and I really want one of those big ones. Just bring one of the big dogs out here. So I talked to Josh, our John Deere guy, the other day. He said, "Oh man, yeah, you could blow a field off in one pass."
Oh wow, dude. Okay.
But I mean, we're getting different mowers to where we can catch clippings. Currently, we can't catch clippings, so we're going to catch that debris.
Yeah, you reel mow your Bermuda grass fields.
Yes.
And you right now you're rotary mowing your cool season fields, and you want to get a reel mower on those fields to be able to pick up more debris.
Yeah, we have to collect debris and get a better quality of cut. We just have to.
It'll make a big difference.
Displeased with those mowers, but just for what we're trying to do, for the density that we're achieving, for the mowing heights we're at. We started at 1 inch on cool season. I mean, we went up to 1.2 2 weeks ago. We went up to 1.3 this week. Like that's not super tight, but it's just like I said, the amount of debris that comes out because of so much play. Now, on the outsides, that debris doesn't come out.
Right.
So, when we springtime this week, we springtime the whole field, but we'll springtime the outsides again next week because
the debris is not there really.
Correct.
Huh?
And we verticut Bermuda last week. We verticut Bermuda this week, but the center 30,000 feet we didn't verticut.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just it's everything we're doing. When I talk about it's a different field, the middle 30,000 feet, it's cultivation, it's debris management, it's debris and thatch management, it's fertility, it's aeration, it's everything.
Well, so all of this work takes a staff to complete, and it takes a knowledgeable staff that understands what you're doing and buys into the program, right? Because even if you had experience before, you'd come out to a field and think, okay, so when he tells me to do something, I'm going to do it across this whole field, and we're going to do the same thing on every inch of the next field as well, and that's just not the way it gets managed.
Well, I've got to be careful here, but you used the word knowledgeable.
Sure.
Knowledge in this business, I find, is dangerous.
There you go. Okay.
Because we think we know something, and one of my favorite phrases is, we don't know what we don't know. And we don't have anyone knowledgeable in turf, and as for those of you on the podcast, I'm using air quotes right now.
Sure.
We have a wonderful group of people, wonderful, young, passionate, interested, into it, but they are all former athletes. We have 0 other people on this staff still that have any turf experience prior to working here.
Yes.
Except for me. We have advertised, and everybody's in the same boat. And I guess I say this so everybody doesn't feel bad, because this is in my role with Major League Soccer. I mean, it's one of the things we're trying to address right now because of the worker shortage. I mean, we've advertised a manager, a number 2 position at over $80,000 a year, and not yet a single legitimate application. And it's just assistant manager positions at $65,000 a year plus, not a single legitimate application. Now, again, I can complain about that, or we can do something different, because guess what? Putting an application online and waiting isn't working.
No, you'll wait all season. You need to get creative.
And we have to have people. I have to stop making excuses to management about why we can't get our job done. So we have to get creative. And so I took a page out of my friend John Ledwidge at Leicester City in England. They just started what they call their Sports Turf Academy. They built a new training ground. That new training ground had double the number of fields of their previous training ground. They also have a 9-hole golf course. And if you haven't seen the videos online and stuff of what they're doing, I encourage everyone listening to please just look up Leicester City Sports Turf Academy, and it is
Leicester City. That's LEI. Cester.
Correct.
Yeah, Leicester City. It's in the Midlands of England. So
Beautiful. So
okay.
their new facility is incredible.
And
Incredible.
so they've got this whole brand new facility, and with it, you're saying,
Well, they had to so you double your number of fields. Where are you going to find the staff?
there you go.
So they decided, well, we're going to train the staff.
Mm-hmm.
So they hired staff, they hired apprentices, and they're training them up, and they're teaching them the proper skills. And we kind of faced the same thing. We I think when we talked last summer, we were at, we're supposed to have 8 to 10 full-time positions. Last summer, the whole summer last year, we never got over 4. So I needed to double my full-time staff. I wasn't getting any applications from legitimate, turf educated people, knowledgeable people, as we were talking about before. So we decided, hey, we're gonna steal a page out of John's book, and I'd really done a lot of research on apprenticeships for the state of Maryland to be certified for an apprenticeship program before we talked with John, and then he and Dr. Jonathan Knowles, that runs their academy, came over and visited us in January, and it kind of came together because what we had researched and what they were doing really aligned, and we just, like I said, we stole the page right out of their book, and we put a apprenticeship posting out. I guess by mid-February we had it out, and by early March we had 40 applicants. We topped out, I think, at 47 applicants. 40 of them were legitimate.
So what are the benefits of a certified apprenticeship through the state, and how did that help in recruiting? Like you said, you can put out you don't get applications otherwise. So but you got 40 in the springtime.
And so the way we did it was, we're talking at this point earlier this spring, we're talking about the Great Resignation. People were realizing that, hey, I want to do something that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I sure love doing this.
Yeah,
don't you?
Absolutely, man. Being out on those fields
what
is
a great way
incredible.
to make a living. So we just tried to convey that to other folks and really just try. So our marketing efforts went out through social media to coaches, to players. The Maryland Bobcats are a Division III team that plays here at SoccerPlex in our stadium, and they train here every day. They were kind enough to put it out through their social media channels, so we reached more soccer players, more athletes. We contacted some of the local high schools. We contacted, I contacted coaches that I know. We contacted the Players Association of the men's and women's professional soccer leagues, and hey, it was hard to pick. Like, it's the hardest decision I've ever made professionally, was to be able to narrow down the field even to 10, to be able to have finalists to interview. It
was difficult.
I still think about people that I want to reach out to them and see what they're doing now, because they were just, so many people were just so into it.
So how many hirees did you end up with?
We ended up hiring 4.
Okay.
We still have one more position. I'm trying to finagle to try to work in one more, and then potentially offer an alternate position as well. So I haven't given up on hiring, because we got work to do.
And how long does this position last, and what are the terms?
So to be certified with the state, it has to essentially be 1 year.
Okay.
They have to work 2,000 hours.
Oh wow.
Which a year of work would be 2,080 hours on a 40-hour week. Then we have to offer them 162 hours of education, 160 hours of education. Now, the agreement that we went into with our apprentices is some of that's paid, some of that's unpaid. So they're going to get paid for 2,080 hours. Because that's a full-time employee. We hired them as full-time employees, and then they're going to learn, and we're going to we start next week, because we just had we had our final of our 4 that we've offered. She started on Monday of this week, so we're going to start classroom sessions every Tuesday and Thursday starting next week. to offer some training, but they're already into it. I mean, we're talking about debris management and so they're out there. One of them was just blowing off debris, and why are we doing this? First question, tell me why we're doing this. This is really interesting. Like, where'd all this debris come from? Like, really open-minded, really into it. Well, we're spring tying. Like, why are we only spring tying the outside? Why are we only verticutting the outside? Why are we not verticutting the middle? Well, we're not verticutting the middle because all the cleats cleaned it out. That's where this debris came from. This debris came out of the middle. This debris didn't come out of the sides. When I try to explain that to people that work in turf, well, if I'm going to verticut, I'm going to verticut the whole field. No. We need to verticut the outside.
It's a waste of our time and labor and
if
our
I'm going
effort.
to Procore, I'm going to Procore the whole field. No.
And also you could destroy some of the areas that are already beat up on Monday.
Absolutely. That's one of the quotes I showed you on the board here. In order to win, we must not beat ourselves.
There you go.
Part of that is we have to one is we have to work as a team, but two is let's stop damaging plants with traffic from maintenance traffic. And only damage the plant. Yeah, we need to beat up Bermuda on the outsides. We don't need to beat up Bermuda or even we don't need to beat up any grass in the middle. We have plenty of play to do that.
Well, in light of that, let's bounce back to a little bit of agronomy. Not that I don't have more questions about the Apprenticeship Academy, but you on the agronomy side, you don't want to beat yourself, and exactly. I think you consider that a lot in your fertility. You talked to me earlier about last fall. You had you felt like you were a little too juicy for the last two tournaments of the year, and you kind of didn't realize how much play those tournaments were going to have. And there was an example of the field didn't take the abuse or recover from the abuse, take the abuse, then recover from the abuse the same way you would have liked it to, because you felt like you were a little bit too juiced up.
Well, and that's anybody that I've talked to this spring, or even our photos that we, because we like to share. We try to be very transparent on Twitter and try to share a lot from what we're doing, because we're not reinventing the wheel. And part of what our board of directors is, and my boss, our executive director, has tasked us with is to be a leader and to help the soccer community. And so we share a lot. We don't stripe up as bright. We're not as deep green as I want to be. But what's it take to get bright stripes and deep green?
A lot of nitrogen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so a plant that is striping well, or a field that's striping well, is probably too juiced up to take 18 matches in a weekend.
Because we can't really reiterate enough that you started in mid-March and you have not had a weekend off on these 24 fields.
Correct. We had one week, Easter week we had off. Spring break. And
you won't until the end of July, middle to end July.
End of July.
So
we go. We're essentially going 6 or 13, so we're going to go 17 of 18 weeks.
And Monday through Friday is practices every night. I mean,
we have at least 5 fields in play every evening for training.
So there's just never a break. You can't afford to take on too much damage that you can't recover from, because
correct. It's a nightmare our weakest points on our fields, and I think there was a photo that we shared earlier last week with lacrosse. Our goal mouse on our cool season fields, several of them are pretty beat up. Not completely bare, they're still crowns. But that's still damage from the tournaments you referenced in the fall last year, because we had to close out last year. We played 32 matches in the final 10 days, 2 weekend tournaments, 3 days apiece. 6 games a day. So we played 18 matches, had 4 days off, played 18 more matches. It was beautiful weather. It was, it's time to fertilize in the fall. Let's give them a little push. And man, they striped up great. They looked beautiful.
Great.
Oh, they looked so good. But we got crushed down to the crowns. 32 matches of all over U16. U16, U17, U18, U19.
Full size athletes.
Yep. I mean, these are they're all sophomores to post seniors.
Mm-hmm.
We got absolutely annihilated. It is the most matches that I've even ever dealt with, and I've dealt with. I'm kind of known for dealing with a lot of matches.
Yes.
32 in 10 days on that kind of with that age group is the most I've ever dealt with, and we got. Thank goodness December was nice,
Mm-hmm.
because we got a lot of recovery in December, and but our goal mouse still didn't recover completely, and we're still to this day. You made the point, like we're still chasing it. We're still chasing it now. 13. I mean, that was the week before Thanksgiving, and we still don't have those goal mouse completely recovered.
So, hindsight 2020, and everything's about bettering ourselves, and in light of we're trying to learn, where do you feel like you could have at what point could you have ended the season better? What did you do that was wrong? What could you have done that was
just
better?
A little bit too much nitrogen from a foliar standpoint. We got a little greedy the last 2 weeks.
In the first half of November, second half of October. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for that first week in November.
And then catching beautiful days, beautiful growing weather.
Beautiful. I mean, it was superb.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was, and God, they look so good. I mean, we got some great drone shots from that weekend, or even the Friday of the boys' tournament, the second of the second weekend, and it was so beautiful. I mean, it was great, but we paid for it.
There you go.
We paid for it, but that's just the thing. And as I've said this spring, we don't look great, but we're. I'm trying to think about how I even phrase it. Like, we're not good, but we're certainly not bad. Like, we're well above average.
Well,
we just don't look. We're not super green and super striping.
Right, but that's not high on the list of goals, really.
I mean, aesthetics isn't in the top 5 of our goals.
There you go. Playability.
Playability. Yeah, playability 1 through 5. Right.
There you go. And safety.
Yeah, and playability. But if we can keep playability, but it's, again, as you said, it's not. It's playability for every single week, because we're literally going. What we say? We're 13 weeks in, so we're plus 4 more, so we're going 16 out of 17 weeks. We're gonna have 4 weeks off, and then we're gonna go 2, 4, and then we're gonna go 12 out of 12. Or no, excuse me, 13 out of 13 to close the year. So we're gonna finish out with having played 17 and 30, 20 weekends out of 25.
Oh my gosh! All right, well let's change course a little bit, and you do get this little break in the end of July. So what will you do? What do you have in mind for?
That's a perfect time to grow cool season turf. Right? Mid-Atlantic.
Well, again, you have your cool season fields, and you have plenty of warm season fields.
Exactly. Yeah, with Bermuda, and that's one reason we're transitioning to more Bermuda, because if they're a little thin at that point, and that's our only window ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, the flip side. The flip side is, and even to jump back to your last question a little bit. We tried 2 things that helped us a lot in December, but even in January, February, and March, when our conditions were absolutely just miserable, we had such a cold January and February. A22, that 2 A22 applications in the fall. I've never. Like, this is the first time we've ever done it.
Right.
Unbelievable.
It is the sweetest app.
I kind of was thinking, okay, yeah, Jack, you're hyping this a little much.
It is the sweetest app.
It's
because you see
amazing.
it in the spring, right? Like,
it's incredible.
What you see coming out of the winter.
Yeah. And so we did that in combination with using turf paint, turf colorant. I've used paint on on Bermuda before, and we love it. Where we know we get 5 to 7 degrees of canopy temperature increase. Well, we painted our cool season fields to get recovery on those middles, and we painted them in December. Oh, man.
Great decision.
Unbelievable the difference that made. And not just in December, but in January when it was cold, in February when it was cold, still making a difference in March. And even as I think you and I looked at it, it's like, this can't be real to make this kind of a difference on. I tell every person I can see, if you have something you need to recover, paint it.
Yeah, because you're just drawing so much more heat.
Much more heat.
Yeah,
Yep.
and that's what you're really after.
And then we also used we don't put our Bermuda grass covers on our fields. We're obviously, everyone knows I'm big on data. If we're not below 40 degree soil temperature for more than 5 days in a row, we don't put covers on Bermuda. Once we get below 40 for 5 days in a row, we put them on. Well, that typically here, or at least this year, that didn't happen until January 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
So we used our Bermuda grass covers, we used our grow covers on our cool season fields just for a few days in December. Huge difference as well. And even just covering the middle of the field.
Those covers are such a good growing tool for
such a difference.
And they're versatile, like you said. You can use them in cool season, warm season, use them in different areas.
Biggest challenge with them is they're labor intensive, and I see this especially from a consulting standpoint. The biggest mistake people make is leaving them on too long.
Sure.
Like 4 or 5 days, if it's over 45 degrees, makes a difference.
So knowing the parameters, you set up parameters for yourself.
Correct.
You have to set up parameters for yourself and stick to them. It sounds like.
Yeah, and we put these little we have these little pods.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for those of you on the podcast.
Yeah.
I have a pod here behind me. We put those underneath the covers,
And
so then we know temperature, humidity, amount of light we're getting through the cover. So then we have actual data points to be able to know, okay, it's getting too hot underneath there.
Perfect.
So let's get them off. And at some point I'm going to sit down with somebody much smarter than me, so probably you, and learn how to do growing degree days, because I want to use those temperatures and put them into a growing degree day model, because, and same thing, I want to put one of the pods in the painted area, because when we did that, we saw that it was, we're seeing that canopy temperature being higher because the pods are giving us canopy temperature, not air temperature. What's the growing degree day difference there as well? Because it's different, and we saw it this spring on our proxy applications for our cool season fields. We missed it. We missed it by just a day, but it was only where we missed it where we painted. So when we painted the middle, we didn't miss it in our corners.
You were
missed
fast.
it in the middle.
It was faster in the middles because of the paint.
Yep.
The 822.
So 822. It's just.
Now
we have these data points we try to use, but we don't realize how inaccurate actually. There's so many people out there right now trying to make all this so complicated, and it's like, we're not completely there yet, but we need more data. We need more data.
So you also mentioned the 822 as something that you'd want to use. Now we were talking cool season in the fall, but now you're talking warm season right now as you get this break next month. The 822 could be a tool for you to get some more recovery.
Yeah, because we're going to have 4 weeks off on, we said cool season, we said warm season. We'll use 545 on cool season because we don't want to push too much. But yeah, 822 down the middle is a Bermuda Grass. It's going to be awesome, right?
Yeah, sure.
We know what it's going to do.
Yeah, and
we're hanging in there right now, and same thing, and we don't have perfect color. I think I mentioned we did 1025 2 weeks ago at just under a half pound. So we're getting a little bit of growth, but we're not getting. That takes us to 1.2 pounds of granular for the whole year.
Right. On Bermuda grass.
On Bermuda.
Yeah.
Now we've been feeding foliarly as well, but only in that center 30,000 feet. So we've had a little bit more nitrogen there, but I want to do more. I want to make it grow more. I want to make it perfect. But again, if we do that,
and then
playability first, not aesthetic.
Well, yeah. Again, like if you do that and then you host a big event
Which we're going to every weekend.
Sure. So then it'll burn you for the rest of the season.
Yep. It'll thin out way too quickly.
Okay, but
because right now, let's just. I'll be bold and just be honest. you saw them. We just played 18 matches of lacrosse. I mean, they're not thin. It's not like they're thin.
No, you look great. Yeah, really good.
The debris that came out needed to come out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we weren't playing on them, we would have already cut them because they needed cleaned out.
Well, and you look so good because of your management of they used to say organic matter. They'd say managing organic matter. I like the term debris better because it's not like soil organic matter.
Correct.
It's managing the debris up top.
Yeah.
And so the fields where you are battling the more debris, more organic matter, particularly like even a layer right at the top 2 inches, that's where you struggle the most.
Yeah. We have two sand-based fields that have a sod layer that then have an organic layer, and they're our two most used fields.
And they're Bermuda grass, so how thick those that layer
they're
is.
incredible. The durability, I mean, Northbridge density is fantastic. It's never super green. It's always just kind of got this yellow to it because it's suffocating all the time.
It's growing so much biomass.
Yeah, and we keep them cleaned out, and we've cored them twice and verticut them twice already this year. And
well, when you say cored them, you've solid tine or
we actually pulled cores on those two. On our other fields, most of our other fields whoa, that was a good one.
That was a good thunder blast.
Yeah. I don't know what we're doing on this podcast. We can take a nap. I've been waiting for this rain for 2 months.
Oh my gosh. Well, it brought it down for me.
Yeah, but it's trying to remove that organic layer. Most of our other fields have been renovated and been phrase mowed in the last 3 to 5 years. Had drainage added to them, native soil that have had slit drainage added to them, and then we have started a top dressing program to start to build up to make our fields, one, we can use them more, two, they're 99% rainout proof.
Yeah, how great is that? These two fields that we're talking about, one of them you have this process going in the next couple weeks, right?
Well, the two sand-based fields we're not going to be doing anything to them, but we are doing drainage and phrase mow drainage, slit drainage on 3 more native soil fields.
Oh, okay, that was it.
Yeah, so to continue that process to get all of them, we want all of them. We have 6 left. So, that's quite that just shows the investment. When we save money on, say, the stadium project, we're able to put that into, if I have one field that's great, so what? I got 21 other ones that need improvement.
Yeah.
So those two sand-based fields have that sod layer, and we treat them differently than our other fields, which are 6 fields that haven't been renovated. We have to treat them completely different as well because they're 21 years old, so they've got organic matter accumulated on them.
Wow.
So, and we, with our soil testing, and we've been working with a company that's doing nitrogen graphing for us as well, that we're able to take the organic matter content, know how much organic release we might expect from each week, based on weather. It's been really helpful to see because it's then you kind of have a number to go with. Oh, this is what you're seeing from. It's always too much. Like, it's never we need to add because there's so much organic matter there.
Well, yeah, that brings up another point. We talk about all this. We talk about all this removal of debris. We talk about managing nitrogen because you're really non-toxic out here. You barely use any pesticide at all.
Yeah, we haven't used it yet. So I mean, we're June. We were June 21st yesterday.
Yeah,
so
there you
22nd.
go. Yeah, so you've made it into summer without using any fungicide yet. Yeah.
And with the weather the way it is, we've got a little melting out on the 3 cool season fields that haven't been renovated, on those older varieties of bluegrass and that are just so high in organic matter. We've had melting out on them for 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, is it enough? What's that threshold that you're kind of displeased with? We're not. It's, it like I said, we were 49 on Sunday morning, so that really helped.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't, when we're low nitrogen and we're focusing on soil biology and we're focusing on the soil nutrients that we need.
And we're removing debris.
managing water, using data to manage water. If we don't need water, we don't water. Some of the fields right now are a little drought stressed because we were a little dry going into the 2 days this weekend that we had 30-mile-an-hour wind all week. I mean,
my gosh.
we had, well, even just Monday, we had 25% humidity.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable how dry it's been. And so we're a little drought stressed as well, but I'd much rather be drought stressed and lean than to be juiced up and too wet and be dealing with the disease issues. So, yeah, our agreement between our board of directors, our executive director, and myself is that we want to be any product that we use granularly that can be OMRI certified, organic certified, needs to be.
There you go.
545 is organic certified, so that's very helpful for us. 343 is as well.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah. You're set to go.
The calcium products we use are organic certified. So we're really focused on that. So 90% of our granulars are organic certified. 95% of our granulars are organic based. Well, I guess actually this year it's 100% are organic based. And yeah, as we said, we haven't used a fungicide yet this year. We probably need to at some point. Let's not fool ourselves. We're in the Mid-Atlantic.
You're very limited with herbicide or none at all.
We'll probably need a little bit in our corners. We're still battling some crabgrass infiltration that has kind of happened. 2018, I think we talked about this before. 2018 really just hammered this facility. They hammered this whole area because of what we have 82 inches, 84 inches of rain. It broke the record for the most rainfall by like 10 inches.
Oh yeah, crushed it.
And it leached out so much calcium that, especially because our soil, our native soil, has a CEC of 8.
Right.
Like it's pretty sandy.
Yeah. It's quite sandy.
But it's got more silt than it does anything. So it's so
it's
hard.
challenging.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. Challenging. Yeah.
There you go.
But we really like those characteristics. When we keep a deep tined open, we can move some water a little bit. But it also leaches it. I mean, with that lower CEC closer to a sand, you're going to lose things when you get 80 some odd inches of rain. So we've had some crabgrass issues really sneaking in our corners where the less traffic is.
Well, and you have an enormous amount of common area out here as well.
Yes.
So that adds to the challenge.
Yeah. And so much. We're in northwest. Where we are here on the northwest side of DC, we're at a little bit more elevation, and we have no protection on the northwest side. So we have a constant wind, except on the days in August when it's 92 degrees.
Super snotty.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good description.
Man. Well, I mean, I'm very happy with what we got to talk about here. I think some of the biggest news that you discussed was this apprenticeship academy and how successful that's been, and it's really only just starting. We'll have a whole year of this going forward, right?
Yeah, we're really excited about it to be able to just change the. As I said, we could sit around and complain about the issues with staffing, or we could change the. I kind of look at it that, or even what I've been charged with from a board and executive director standpoint is, it's my job to teach. It's not my job. It's and that's kind of what we all have to look at in the industry now, is we have to kind of start to consider ourselves more teachers, because we don't have the people.
Teachers and recruiters.
Big time.
You have
recruiter.
to.
That's a great point.
And you have to grab from the right pool. You working with athletes that have a sense as to how a field should play. That's so key. Yeah. I mean, and it's successful in golf. Good golfers make good superintendents. Baseball has had success with that. A lot of baseball field managers were high level players. It's there's a path for success there.
Yeah, it's got to be, and it's. I mean, the thing that's different is we have a very diverse group of apprentices. We have a very diverse staff.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, we're obviously everyone that knows me is that I have pretty liberal stance and a pretty liberal look. I laugh the podcast you described yourself as a tree hugger. I'm like, yeah, you are, but I am too. So I'm all for you. So
It's
when
fun.
you get your tree hugger hat, I want to borrow that.
There you go.
Or I want one of those too. But I mean, it's sports in general today. It's especially soccer. When we reach out and stop just having white men as the people we're staffing with, and or just Hispanic men that are our laborers, we open up a whole hell of a different diverse pool of people that can come and do the work. We're proud of the diversity that's coming into our program or that's our staff now.
First and foremost, women.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We have definitely have women.
It
as
just
well.
makes for a nice work environment.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's about attitude. It's not about. I mean, you said it before, and I kind of made fun of the knowledge word. I don't give a shit what kind of attitude. Excuse my French there, but I just want to reinforce that I don't care about what you know. I care about what your attitude is. Like, you can come in and tell me all and walk around and act like you know everything, but if you don't have a good attitude and you're not a team player, what good are you going to be? I mean, a facility this size, maybe a one-field complex or facility can get away with that, but it's, with a facility this size, we win together, we lose together, and that is just. And I really consider, and really I consider myself more a coach than a boss, because I'm not really a boss. I'm coaching them. I'm not telling them what to do, and that's why I think it's been, especially with the athletes and coaches that we have on our staff now, and former players. I mean, pretty much everyone on our staff played one sport or another, either lacrosse, soccer. I guess lacrosse and soccer have either everyone, yeah. And they even still play now.
Yeah, great.
And that team attitude, that's why drawing from athletes and recruiting from athletes and coaches, they know how to work as a team. There's no, there's cliche, there's no I in team, but
That's it.
I mean, they know it. And two, they're used to the elements. They, especially if they're from this area or north, they've been playing outside if they've been playing lacrosse or soccer, so they know. Somebody asked me the other day, one of the interns or the apprentices asked me about what's the best part about the job. And I said, the weather. To get to be outside, Mother Nature. Like, it's just, what's the worst part about the job? The weather, Mother Nature.
It's always changing.
I mean, you just never know.
Oh, that's good.
And
I heard everyone come in right at the end of the day, and I heard that camaraderie, and in reference to the job, like, it was like, did you get that done? Because I got this but done, and oh yeah, I saw you guys were over there, and you heard everyone kind of seeing that as a team, did we get it all done today?
That's exactly right, and it's the team spirit that is there. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm so lucky. I'm so lucky to have the staff that we do. I mean, we're lucky to have leadership that we do in our organization. But to me, it's the future. It's the future of what we're doing. Diversity and former athletes, but I mean, to that point as well, though. I mean, it's, we've been looking at do we integrate our apprenticeship program? Do we align with some sort of turf program or something like that? Where do we go next with it? Because we are going to start offering some training classes. We're going to do some research. I don't know that we'll hire a PhD like John has done at Leicester City, but John, nice rain there too. Huh?
Yeah, that's the hum. That's the hum coming through. I was wondering.
But they've Dr. Knowles is overseeing that program at Leicester, and we may do the same thing, because we already run on-field trials for hey, let's try this, let's try that, let's try this product, let's try this seed, let's try this grass. We do that. That's what we're tasked with by our board. It's what I'm tasked with by our executive director. It's what Natural Grass Advisory Group has been a part of for several years here, but even after I was here before. We want to put some documentation behind that. But for me to integrate that, first thing I have to think about is the safety of that, because of the conservative bias in our industry and being 100% or 99% white males, is it safe for me to introduce a very diverse staff into, or as we integrate that, even to go to a conference? I mean, there's a whole lot of conservative shenanigans and conversation that goes on at our conferences for this industry that doesn't represent who our athletes are.
There you go.
And it's one of those things that even when there's people in leadership positions that are pretty vocal about some of the shenanigans that go on, that's not a safe space for me to put those people. So trying to go about this in a different way is a little challenging, but it's also fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and this is part of what we're doing here. The podcast. We've got a different way of learning now, and a different way of talking about things and coming to market. And
well, that's the irony is I hear people complaining about university programs, shrinking or all these people aren't coming in the industry. It's our own damn fault. Like, we can change it really quickly. We stop being closed-minded and we open our minds and we start doing all these different things. But what does that summarize? We need to not be closed-minded in our agronomy. We need to not be closed-minded in our staffing. We need to be not closed-minded in the way we collect our information. Like, there's just, we're still just at the infancy of how great this industry is going to be. Because, again, when I think we talked about in a previous episode, the synthetic turf business in North America is valued at something like $3 billion a year.
Whoa.
And sports science and precision agriculture are both multi-billion-dollar industries. Well, we as field managers, sports field managers, are at the crossroads of precision ag, at the crossroads of sports science, at the crossroads of, synthetic turf as well. It's a field, so it's people are putting in synthetic turf fields because their grass fields are failing.
Yeah,
or they can't find a properly qualified person to maintain their grass.
Let's take this time at the end of the episode to do a shout out to our friends up at Martha's Vineyard, the Field Fund.
Yeah, how about that?
How about that news, right? Because you and I came together on that project. You brought me in years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, and and the idea there was they wanted to keep a synthetic turf off the island.
Yeah, it's the first advocacy group that's fighting against synthetic turf that I know of that's been successful in the United States.
And just in the last couple of weeks, we got the news that they were officially successful. Like it had been in litigation within the town council.
It's been a 3.5 or 4 year process.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Unbelievable how a synthetic turf field can completely divide a community. That they were receiving, even death threats. Because somebody thinks, but that happens. That happens because of the money that's involved and the kickbacks that people get with these fields that get installed in these towns, and so they're also the first advocacy group. Well, I can't say that word. I need to practice. That actually put up money to make their grass fields better. Like, we get contacted. My firm gets contacted by at least one group every single week trying to fight against synthetic turf. The Field Fund was the first group and the only group still to this day that I am aware of that we've worked with that actually raised money and started maintaining the grass fields to make them better.
Yes.
Instead of just trying to fight it with this person says this or this person says that, it's, well, let's prove it.
Let's show them.
Because that's what it comes down. What we were talking about before as we started this grass. How much can grass take? Well, we don't. Let's put the pieces of the puzzle together and find out. Because we're still pushing that envelope. And when we get all these people, and so they said, okay, let's rock and roll. Let's do this. Let's raise some money and actually prove it. And it's gotten them a long way. So yeah, absolutely kudos to them.
Kudos to them. Well, Jerad,
and let me say, and I probably shouldn't, but that they got that done even with the STMA chapter in New England working against them. So just think about that. Just think about that.
They persevered.
They persevered.
Yeah, big time.
The good of grass wins out.
Yeah.
Not always, unfortunately.
And 3 very strong-willed women that were not going to give up.
They're the best, aren't
Yeah,
they?
the best.
I hope they listen to this. If not, we'll send it to them.
Yeah.
Definitely shout out to them because and shout out to you for helping out and Brian up there as well for helping out and the guys from Finch that have helped out, and there's so many people that
The
have been
New England
involved in that.
non-toxic group that helped out.
The Massachusetts, they got a grant. Yeah, I mean, as we were talking about, they got to it. They got a grant to buy a Redexum slicer to be able to aerate their fields. They bought a seeder. They went to it. They didn't just small time this, but they got these grants, and there were people. Yeah, the UMass non-toxic group was involved. There's so many people that have gotten involved, and it's a great example. But it's unfortunate that there has to be that and still fight for 4 years to just try to get one good grass field built. But that's where we're at.
That's where we're at. We
so
keep
much
fighting.
so much good ahead of us. So much good ahead of us.
Well, this podcast really helps, and I'm very grateful to you. You're an excellent guest. Thank you for your time. Thanks for coming on here. This is really good. I appreciate our friendship and our working together. This is a lot of fun because we're getting it done, man.
Yep. It's not easy, but we're getting it done.
Yep.
That's right. We learn something new every day.
Yeah. Well, and the way to win is we win together. That's what's written together. That's what's written on your board.
It's a team effort. It's a team effort from all the vendors that support us. It's a team effort from our team, the vendors that support us, and that's. But it's again, I'm back to the same place. We're just at the infancy of how great this industry can be. We just have to keep building on building and growing and learning and trust data, trust I trust the process, and get these programs involved, and we're going to win. We're going to win together.
We're going to check back in on the Apprenticeship Academy too in a couple months, so because we want to hear more about that. All right, Jerad, thank you so much.
Thanks, Jack.
Everyone, thanks for listening to the EarthWorks podcast.